There we go. All yours.
All right. Hi, guys. Welcome. My name is Allie Dosdell, and I work for We Are Memory Keepers. I've been with them for about 10 years. And right now, I'm working as their social media marketing manager. And I also am, I guess you could say, the face of the brand. I represent them on television, at trade shows, through videos on YouTube. And so it's my pleasure to represent them and share a lot of information today with you guys about this wonderful Spin It program. Just a little background about the Spin It program. It is actually the first dedicated tumbler making program in
Sorry, Allie. We lost audio.
Hi, everyone. We realize that there's no sound, and we are working to get in contact with Allie so that she can correct that for you.
All right. So I need to start from the beginning about the Spin It program. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. All right. So the Spin It program is the first dedicated tumbler making program that's been available in craft stores. And we are really grateful for our partnership with Michael's and proud of the opportunity that we've had to bring this groundbreaking program to the crafts to Michael's. So we started with the tumbler turner. We actually introduced the first bulk glitter offering in craft stores, so that was exciting. But we've also added to the program now. We have additional glitter mixes and glitter colors, which are really beautiful. We have additional mica powders. Mica powders are the dyes that you use to color your resin. And we have some really fun specialty powders like thermal powders that change color with heat, solar powders that will change color in the sun. We also have some glow in the dark glitter, which is really fun, especially for kids. And then we also have some really specialty type glitters. This one's actually sawdust. Sorry, I was gonna say sandpaper, but it probably feels like that, but it's sawdust. So that's kind of fun. There's just a lot of different options to get creative and unique with your resin and tumbler crafts. So then we added some silicone molds, because a lot of the time when you're creating with resin, you end up with a little bit of leftover and you hate to waste that, right? So we created these silicone molds for coasters and for pendants so that you can use up that extra glitter and resin in all your product and not waste that and create something additional when you're working with it. So we're going to be using one of those today. Here's a couple of examples of cups that I've made, tumblers that I've made. This is a swirl tumbler that we did in the Michael's class last month. This is another one I did over the summer, a kind of a beach themed one. And this is the one that we're actually going to make today. This is, I'm calling it a winter wonderland tumbler. And it's got kind of a swirling blue and white, and then it's got some glitter and some snowflake sequins. So you've got a little bit of texture to this, which is really fun. And then there's a matching coaster to go with it that we're going to make as well. So I'm really excited to show you how to do this. And the fun thing about a swirl tumbler like this is that you get different results every time. Each one is unique. So it's going to be really fun to see how this one turns out today. So let's see. Oh, I also forgot to mention we have glitter shaker bottles, which make applying the glitter really easy. And I mentioned the mica powders. Just want to make sure I've covered all my bases. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And you're welcome to ask me any questions as we go along about the Spin It program or about tumbler making in general. But let's start by making this tumbler. And the first thing I want to mention is that I am using the Spin It machine with the new arm and base. So it comes with this arm, but you can purchase this one separately. And this one is great because it's got this shield here. So if you're doing projects like hydro dipping, which is spray painting into a bucket of water and then dipping your cup in, this kind of gives you something to hold on to and kind of protects your machine as well. Another tip is I often will put a shim underneath my machine at the very end. This is just some paper toweling. And that just kind of helps with certain sizes and weights of cups to kind of balance that and keep it level. Now, I want you to carefully look through the instructions when you're creating with the Spin It and take a look at the size and weight limits because that's going to be really important as well. Another tip I have is to use a silicone mat to cover the bottom. You can use other things as well, you know, like tarp or, you know, wax paper or something that's waterproof so you don't get any resin on your machine. Silicone's great because it just literally, the epoxy peels right off. We also have this silicone brush. This is great for applying your product to your tumbler, and it's silicone tipped. And so again, the resin will just literally peel right off. So that's another great thing to have. Always protect your work surface. Put something underneath there so that you don't get any resin on your surface because once that cures and hardens, it is not coming off. So, and then also I wear an apron, usually, you know, protect my clothing as well. All right, so I think that's it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a cotton ball and some rubbing alcohol and just clean off your tumbler. And then you're going to spray paint it with the white primer and paint. And the way I do that is I usually just put down like some kind of cover in a well-ventilated area, turn it upside down, and then just spray paint the whole thing, bottom included, all the way to the end here. And once that's fully dry, then you're ready to use it. That just gives you a really nice canvas to work with so your colors pop, because glitter and sometimes the mica powders mixed with the resin are translucent. So if you leave the cup the stainless steel gray color, that's going to show through and that's going to kind of affect your colors when you're working with it. So I always like to start with a white canvas. If you're working on, you know, if you're doing a solid color tumbler, like all pink or whatever, you can spray paint it pink to kind of match that. But we're using multiple colors, and so I really wanted to have a white canvas. Okay, Once you've done that, you're going to tape the inside of the lip right here with either washi tape, masking tape, painter's tape, some kind of low tack tape. That's just to protect your machine and to also stop the resin from getting inside your cup. So once you've done that, you're gonna mount this onto the machine. And then what I like to do is turn this on and just watch it spin from different angles, from the top, from the front. And that way I can see if the cup is spinning level or if it's wobbling. We don't want the cup to wobble. So you're going to need to take some time to adjust that. And this arm is fully adjustable. You can change the width of this, make it more narrow or more thick, depending on the size of your cup. And you're going to want to get that real secure. I recommend kind of getting these tips right at the lip, inside the lip of the cup, if that makes sense.
Hey,
so
Allie?
that the edge of your cup is right there. Yeah.
We have a question. Do you sand the tumbler?
I don't typically sand it. I have found that the primer and paint in one works really well. I haven't had any problems with that. I know some people sand, and that probably would be a good idea if you're putting resin directly onto the stainless steel. I would maybe sand that a little bit. But if you're using a primer and paint combination, you should be fine. So good question. All right, so once you've got your tumbler on there and it's spinning straight, then you're ready to mix your resin. And I'm going to put on some nitrile gloves to do that. You're also going to want to make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area. And we'll mix up our resin. Now let me find, okay, these are the cups I was going to use. So I'm going to scoot this just a bit over for a minute so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I like to use just, paper cups, cheap paper cups. And then I just get a bunch of these stir sticks to work with. And I always have paper towels on hand. That's a really smart thing to have them just ready to go because you never know if you're going to need them. So the resin comes in two parts. It comes in an A part and a B part. One of them is the actual resin and the other one is the hardener. So you're creating a chemical reaction between these two, and that's what's going to make the resin start to cure. You have a 30 to 40 minute work time with this resin. So once you've finished mixing it up, you've got 30 to 40 minutes to work with it before it starts to cure. So you're going to pour equal parts of A and B into your cups. Now, I'm going to make a little extra today to make sure that I have enough, and also because I want to show you how to make the coaster. But when this is an 18-ounce tumbler, and when you're working with this size tumbler, I recommend maybe 37 to 38 milliliters of resin. That should cover it pretty well without overdoing it. You definitely don't want to overdo it because then your resin will start to pool and it will start to, your cup will get misshapen and kind of bubble in certain places. So you don't want to add too much. So I'm almost got that, just a tad more of the B. All right, okay.
Hey, Allie, while you're getting ready to mix, a question is asked, would you be able to add photos to the tumbler before the epoxy?
Yes, you can. That's a great question. So with the Spin It program, we offer what's called water slide paper. And that allows you to print directly onto it. And then you can put that on the tumbler before you put your epoxy on. That is a great question. That would be really fun to do photos on that, do like a collage or something. You can also just print, any design or, logo or whatever you want. Okay, so what I usually do is I pour the B into the A because the B is a little bit thinner and it will come out better. So you want to really scrape that cup that you poured the B out of and make sure you get all the B into the A, if that makes sense, because you want to get your ratio just right. So epoxy problems happen when your ratio is incorrect. And the other most common problems happen when you have understirred. So you're going to stir this and mix this carefully. You don't want to go real fast because that'll create air bubbles. But you're going to do this for 2 to 3 minutes. And if you understir, if you undermix your epoxy, you're going to have problems with your cure. So I would rather have you overmix your epoxy. You can't damage it if you overmix it. So go to 2 to 3 minutes. And the key that you're looking for is you're going from cloudy to clear. So right now, my epoxy mixture is pretty cloudy and swirly. And so once that all disappears and it's nice and clear, then you should be good to go. I recommend not mixing less than about an ounce of epoxy because you are at higher risk for problems with curing with an improper ratio, you know, all kinds of things like that. So usually about an ounce at least is what I recommend. Now, as you're stirring, you're going to scrape the bottom and the sides, and that's going to help you make sure that both parts A and B get mixed nicely together. And again, go kind of slowly so you don't get air bubbles, but you're going to get some. Just so you know, there are going to be some little air bubbles in there, and we will deal with those nicely in a little bit because we do have solutions for that.
And Allie,
Again, oh yeah, go ahead.
they're asking how much of the part A and B, I know is equal parts, but how much did you put into your cups?
I did not measure. I tend to eyeball because I use these cups enough that I have a pretty good idea of exactly where I need to go. With this tumbler, I would do about 37 to 38 milliliters, but I'm also doing a coaster. So let you know, I bet, I'm trying to think if there's maybe a measurement on here. Okay, hang on, give me 1 sec. You know what, I bet I probably did twice that. So I probably did twice the 37 to 38 because usually about halfway here is 37 to 38. So I think I doubled that. That's my guess. Is about double the 37 to 38. That's a good question. All right, so I'm just going to keep mixing and keep this going. One note about epoxy, it can be a skin irritant. So again, the gloves, and also well-ventilated area. If you do get any on your hands, you know, there's instructions to recommend just washing it off before it dries, you know, that kind of stuff. So there is a smell to it, but that's why you're gonna just work in a well-ventilated area, keep a window open, you know, put a fan in, open a door, whatever you got to do, and you'll be just fine. I've made dozens of these and I've not had any problems with it as long as I follow those directions. So no worries there. All right, it's kind of starting to clear up a little bit. And then the fun thing is once you've mixed this up, then you can go crazy with creativity. Then you can add in your mica powders to dye different colors. You can add alcohol inks. You can add glitter. You can add sequins, all kinds of fun things. And you can, like was asked before, you can add all kinds of fun things to your tumbler before. People like to add vinyl. They like to cut vinyl with their cutting machines and add vinyl decals on. People like to do fun paint designs on their tumblers. So there's just a lot of options. And the nice thing about the epoxy is that seals up whatever design you've created on your tumbler, that seals it up and makes it waterproof. So now with the stainless steel tumblers, even if you don't add a design or epoxy on, you're always going to want to hand wash those. So these are hand wash only if it's a stainless steel tumbler. All right, I think I'm pretty much ready. Yep, nice and clear. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this up. I've marked my measurements on my cups. So this is going to be the two colors that we're going to do for the this tumbler. So I'm going to just fill it to that line that I drew. A little bit more. And then pour into this one. into the line, and then I'm going to mix those colors separately. All right. Okay, now this I'm going to set aside for just a minute because we're going to use that in a second, and I'm going to chuck that one in the trash. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this really beautiful pastel set of mica powders. And we're going to do the blue and the white, and these are pearlescent. I love these for winter, especially because they've got that pretty sheen. So I'm going to just use one of these stir sticks, and a little goes a long way. So I just need a teeny bit of color, and I'm going to pop that in there. And then I want just a teeny bit of the white in there as well, just to lighten that blue just a bit. A little bit less, maybe half of what I put in of the blue. And then I'm going to mix that up. Hopefully you can see that. Scrape the sides as you mix, and you can, I don't know if you can see, but I can see this really pretty pearlescent sheen starting to appear, and it's really nice. It's going to look beautiful. All right, so I'm just going to keep scraping to get all that color in there, all that dye in there. All right, now to this color, we're going to add this really pretty glitter mix. This is called Fairy Dust. And it's got small and large silver not hieroglyphic. Oh my gosh, the word just escaped me, but you know, anyway, you know what I'm saying. Maybe someone can help me out with the word I'm looking for. All right, so we're gonna sprinkle a little bit of glitter in there.
Allie, can you repeat the colors that you used?
Yes, so this is the mica powder pastel set. This is the pastel set, and we're going to use the white and the blue from that set. All right, so we've mixed that up. We've got the glitter mixed in there. Now we're ready to mix the second color. So we're going to go back to our white. We're going to put some white in there. And this one, we're also going to add something kind of fun. Let me mix the powder up first. I recommend mixing your color first. Like if you're adding multiple mix-ins, do your color first and get that real solid and well mixed, and then you can add in your glitters. So that way everything will be nice and smooth and well blended. So let's get that blended up, scrape, make sure the color's nice and smooth throughout. Okay, now this is from Recollections. These are Snowflake. They're kind of like confetti, sequins, glitter. I don't know exactly what they are, but they're really fun. They're polyester, and we're just going to sprinkle a few in here. They're different color, blues and white. All right, just a little bit of that, and we'll come back to those later in the project, but that's what we're going to use for now. It's just a little bit. Mix that in there, get those all mixed up, scrape. All right, okay. So before we add these to the tumbler, scoot these out of the way and scoot this down. The first thing I like to do when doing a swirled tumbler, whoops, let me get my shim in the right spot, is I like to add a really thin layer of clear epoxy over the entire tumbler first. And that just gives the additional, you know, the colored epoxy a really, it kind of provides this nice slick surface so that the colored epoxy can swirl around easier. So I'm going to turn this on to medium speed. And that's another thing I love about this machine is you have an adjustable speed dial, which is really super handy. Now for this part, you're only going to need, I say, about 2.5 milliliters of epoxy, not very much. You're going to feel like you don't have enough, but it will get there. So you're just going to work your hands up and down this cup and spread that epoxy around. This is going to take a few minutes, but eventually it will get completely covered. This epoxy is self-leveling, which means as it spins around, it will level itself. It will straighten itself out. So we'll just keep working with this and moving it around and sliding our fingers over it until the entire cup is covered. And again, that's going to give us just a nice base for these other colors to swirl around in. And it also kind of seals the cup up, like the paint and everything up, which is helpful. I am not going to do the bottom because we're not going to swirl on the bottom. We're just going to add the color to the bottom, solid color. So I don't need to have the layer go all the way across the bottom. Now, some tumbler makers like to only work from this line of the cup up to the lip. So what they do is before they paint, they tape this bottom off so that the bottom is still a stainless steel bottom. So you can totally do that if you want, or you can cover the whole tumbler. Just be aware that if you're covering the bottom of the tumbler, that you need to make sure that it's nice and smooth so that so that it stands up straight, so that it's not crooked when it's standing up. So it's really up to you. I've done both and both work fine as long as you're careful on the bottom. Make sure you have a thin, straight coating. So we're just about there. Almost got this whole thing covered. And you can really tell, you can see the shimmer and shine as you're working with this epoxy. And that'll help you determine whether you've got the whole mug covered. As it spins around, you'll be able to see shine on the entire cup as it spins. Almost there. All right. One thing I want to mention about tumbler making is it is a craft that takes some time. But the cool thing about it is the results are lasting. This stuff is made to last. Like, this is a gift that's going to last, or, something for yourself that's going to last for many years to come. So just keep that in mind as you're creating, that this is meant to last, and so it's worth the time. All right. Okay, we've got good coverage there. So now I'm going to remove this glove and get myself another one. I always have a nice stack of nitrile gloves so that I don't get epoxy everywhere. So we're going to work with a clean one now. And now it's time to apply the different colors of glitter. And the way we're going to do that, I'm going to set, well, I guess I'll leave that right there. The way we're going to do that is using the stir sticks. And I'm going to mix that up again. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of blob this on. I don't know how else to call it other than that, in little blobs in different places. Okay, and I got to make sure I get some of those snowflakes up here too. A little blob there. I'm just kind of alternating spots along the tumbler. And don't worry, like if these snowflakes kind of fall off, or don't stay on, that's okay for now, because we'll be able to repair whatever we need to later on. I'm just going to keep adding blobs in different places. Now this mug is a 2-color swirl. You can do more than that. You can do a 3-4 color swirl. I wouldn't do more than 4 probably, because you might just, it'll get too busy. My favorites honestly are a real nice 2-color and a 3-color. But if you really like a more colorful look, you can go for more. Okay, now I haven't used all of it. I'm going to come back to that, but I'm going to start with some blue now and get this blue going. Kind of fill in some gaps here and there. Okay, now I want you to bear with me as I make this, because honestly, as you watch the process, it doesn't look really awesome until the very end. And you're going to go, wow, that's amazing. But right now it's going to kind of look weird. So bear with me. I promise it'll look cool. All right, let's just kind of fill in, keep filling in some different spots. And I don't know that there's any real rhyme or reason to this other than just make sure that you get your colors in different spots so that there isn't one particular color at one end of your cup versus another. You want the colors to be fairly well distributed. Let's see, we need a little bit more up here. A little more in there. All right, let me get a
Allie,
little
we
more
have
white.
a question. If you
Yeah.
wanted to add glitter at this point, would that be a good time or?
I recommend adding your glitter to the epoxy because that way you can make sure that the glitter is evenly distributed. If you add glitter right now, it's probably going to chunk up in different places and not look really evenly distributed, if that makes sense. So I recommend adding the glitter to your epoxy. Now, sometimes I've made tumblers where I've covered the tumbler with a layer of epoxy and then put the glitter on and made sure it was nice and evenly distributed. But as far as this technique with the swirling, definitely add your glitter ahead of time so that it's evenly distributed. Good question. All right. Okay, now I'm going to hold a little bit back so that as I am swirling these colors, I can kind of add color where I feel like I need to add color. All right, so the trick to swirling these colors is to use a heat gun. Okay, you can use whatever heat gun you've got. I'm gonna move these out of the way so I don't get the heat on them. And that's what's going to create the swirl. This is going to get a little noisy, so hopefully I can talk over it, but just be patient and watch because it's going to be really cool. Suddenly you'll see it and you'll be like, wow, but for a little while it's going to look lame. So just be patient and bear with me. All right, here we go. So I'm just keeping this, maybe 4 to 6 inches away from the tumbler. And I'm just going back and forth. And I can actually already see that I'm going to need to add some more epoxy up at the top of this cup. So I can kind of do that as it's going. This is kind of like rub your tummy and pat your head exercise. But I can kind of tell already we need a little more color up at the top. Okay, so you can see the colors kind of starting to move now. I'm going to add some white up at the top.
So Ellie, I have a couple of questions. How long do you keep your resin and does it turn colors? If
I
you've had it
can
for a while,
barely hear you. If you could speak up maybe just a little bit, that would be great.
I definitely can. As far as your resin, how long do you keep it? And if you've had it for a while, does it turn colors?
Oh, good question. Okay, so, hold on. Okay, I'm going to stop with this for just a second. So how long, what was the question? I'm sorry, how long do you cure the resin?
How long actually do you keep it? How long do you hold on to it, maintain your resin?
Shelf life.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. That's going to vary depending on the brand. I would definitely look at your manufacturer's instructions for further. If it's good resin, it should last for several months, like up to a year even. If it starts to turn yellow in a few months, then it's probably not very good quality resin. So you should, I think I've had this resin for probably 5 months now and it's still perfectly clear. Still looks just like it should. So I have had other brands that has gone yellow after a couple months. So
and we have another question asking if you can put epoxy into a squeeze bottle.
You can. I know some people will put it into like syringes as well. Just realize that that's going to need to be disposable. That unless it's silicone, that resin is not coming out. So that's if you want to do some real detail work with your resin, that's a good way to do it. So I'm getting the bottom now, just kind of covering that, and then I'm going to actually go over that with my fingers to just kind of smooth that around and make sure that we've got some even coverage down there and that the edges are covered as well. All right, let me grab a paper towel and wipe my finger. Okay,
And
I
also
do
while
see
you're
that
doing
we
that,
need,
I'm
oh, sorry,
sorry.
what? Go ahead.
What setting do you have your heat gun on?
Mine doesn't have different settings. I think mine is about 800 degrees. Once it gets going, it gets pretty hot. And every heat gun is going to vary, but you want to get one that's pretty, pretty hot. Okay, let me get a little more color up at the top here. I figured we probably would need more. That's generally what happens because this is a wider area. All right, and then I'm just going to check my shim down here because I'm feeling like it's not quite exactly where it needs to be. And I am correct. Hold on. There we go. All right. So this is a great learning opportunity, guys. So you can see there's a little bit of pooling down here at the bottom, and that's because my shim wasn't directly where it needed to be underneath my the base of this machine. So now it's still wet, so I still have time to correct that. So now what's going to happen is because it's level now, that bulge down there is going to slowly disappear, and the resin's going to even out. So I'm just going to real quick hit this with my heat gun at the top here to swirl it a little bit and make sure that color gets all the way to the top. Sorry for the silence. Sometimes I can talk and craft at the same time, but sometimes I got to concentrate a little bit more. So I'll try to not have the awkward silence as much as possible, but every now and then I got to think real carefully. Okay, so I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, all right. Oops, I'm happy with that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more of these little snowflakes, and I'm going to take my little stir stick, and I'm going to even just pick up some of the ones that fell down and just start kind of placing them on. So we have more. Actually, this is probably a better thing to do. I'm going to use this brush, the silicone brush, and I'm going to get some resin that dripped off of my cup, and I'm going to kind of cover a little bit of resin on the tip of this brush, and then I'm going to sprinkle some of these snowflakes down here, and this is just so I can pick them up easily. And then I'm just going to use my brush and kind of pick them up. And this is kind of the part that you get to decorate, that you get to determine where you put things and how much you put, and how decorative or simple you decide to be. And you can put as many or as little as you want, just depends on the look you're going for. Now, here's just a quick tip. If you have a daughter or granddaughter who is into a certain movie that's animated, this is a great Christmas gift if you're getting my drift. So it's got the same colors and the snowflakes and the swirling, and anyway, so just a quick tip for those of you who are looking for handmade gift ideas. This is a really great gift. Whoops, those didn't want to come off. There we go. All right, and again, like if I were to compare this cup with the one that I made previously for the class, they're just a little bit different. So that's kind of cool. So I think I'm almost done. I'm just going to take one more look around, throw a couple more on maybe. There's a couple little blank spots. But I'm pretty happy with it. So you could even, if you want to get really ambitious, you could even try to create a pattern with your snowflakes. You could add some vinyl before you put the snowflakes on that says, something winter wishes or something, however you want to say that. Gosh, that little guy doesn't want to come off. There he goes. Okay. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. Let me find the top for this. And we've got pretty good coverage everywhere and some nice swirling action. And just so you know, while that is still wet and hasn't cured, you can go ahead and perfect your design. You can still swirl your color some more. There's a couple spots that, you know, if I were doing this for me, I would probably shoot a little bit more just to smooth out the spots where I was using the brush, you know, and just kind of make sure everything looks nice and smooth. But basically that's finished. So what you'll do is you'll let this cure for 24 to 48 hours. It actually probably only needs to be spinning for about the first 12. Then you can turn off the machine and stop it spinning, and then you can take it off at about 24 hours. The nice thing about this machine, I forgot to mention, let me take my glove off before I pick this up, is it is USB powered. So I have a battery pack attached to this, and or you can use a wall adapter and just plug this into your wall outlet with an adapter. But that's kind of nice because that means that you're not tied down to where the outlets are. You don't have to get out like all your extension cords, etc. This just makes it a little more portable, which I really appreciate. That's really nice. So that's just going to go and go. And it doesn't take a lot of power. Like I had this battery pack on all day yesterday, basically, and the day before, and I still have 3/4 of my power left. So it really doesn't take a lot of power. Okay, so let me see if I can carefully scoot this over here so we can work on the coaster, because that's really fun. And make sure my shim is in the right spot. Yes, okay. All right, let me re-glove my right hand, and we'll grab the mold and make a really fun winter coaster to match. Okay. So there are, in the pack are 3 different shaped molds. There's a circle, a square, and then this nice little hexagon. And we're going to use the hexagon, but you know, you could use either one. So I've still got some clear resin here. And what I'm going to do again is divide it up. Actually, I don't need to divide this one because I've already got both colors. So we're going to pour some into here. And then some more into here. And then I'm going to leave a little bit clear, because I like to do the bottom clear for this with just glitter, which is kind of a cool look, kind of like ice. So, all right, let's put some more blue in. I'll grab another little stir stick. We just need a teensy bit, just because this color is very saturated. And we'll mix that up. Whoops. Okay, and just a teensy bit of the white pearlescent. And then we'll mix those up. And then we're going to add the glitter and the snowflakes again and get a really cool look on this coaster. And also, if you want to, you can add a little white to that blue as well to lighten it up. So here, let me see if I can show you the difference. So this is the blue without being diluted with the white. So you can see that's a little darker, and we diluted it with the white on that, so it's a little lighter. But that's just so you get an idea, that you can decide how rich you want that blue. It's up to you. So we'll add a little bit of this glitter mix. All right.
Hey, Allie, while you're doing that, we had a few questions.
Sure.
Mike is asking, how do you smooth around the lip part of the cup? Or does it just automatically? Exactly.
Okay, that's a good question. So if you end up with any resin kind of over the top of the lip there and it's not smooth, I take a straight razor and just kind of scrape it along. Let's say here's the lip edge, right? I'm just going to take the razor and scrape it along and just make it nice and smooth. So that's a good question. But generally, if you get epoxy all the way up to the top, it should cure nice and smooth. It's just a matter of a little bit going over that you just need to kind of cut off with a razor And I would do it at the 12-hour mark when you remove your cup from the, sorry, 24-hour mark when you remove your cup from the spinner, just so you don't, you know, cause any problems touching it before that. So let's see, snowflakes, just a few, not a ton.
And also,
Just
Allie,
on
they're
little guys.
asking, do you have a Facebook page or an Instagram or any other
I
social media?
do, yes. If you go to the Michael's website where you registered for this class, there's a link to my blog there. But you can also look me up on Instagram and Facebook, just ALY, Allie, and my last name is DOSDALL, Dosdall, and I should pop right up. So I do have Instagram and Facebook where I share lots of fun crafting ideas. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to cover just this inside hexagon, the kind of the bottom of the coaster with the white. So, and you can do this any way you want. This is just how I decided to do it, but you could swirl these colors around and with your heat gun in here and kind of make them look real cool. But I decided just to kind of do a little bit of color blocking with this. So we're starting with sort of spreading this around. I'm not doing a super thick layer of this. I'm going to go back and add more resin after I get the base and the edges full. So I'm just kind of like spreading your butter around.
And
Get
while
a
you're
little
doing
more.
that, I do want to let the class know that this is being recorded. It will be on michaels.com/classes. And we do also put the classes on our YouTube channel as well.
Awesome, thank you. That's great to know. So you can watch this back later on and make your tumbler at your leisure. Very cool. All right, so once we've got that spread around to the edges, I'm going kind of thin at the edges so that it doesn't go over that lip and down into the borders there. But just so that we've got the light color all along the base. And there's a lot of fun ways you can do these coaster molds. They're really fun to work with. And also we have, I think I mentioned pendant molds. So if you want to make some jewelry for the holidays as a gift, you can do that as well with your extra resin that you have when you're done. Okay, so that's good. Then we're going to take the blue and we're going to go down into the sides here very carefully. Just fill those. And nice thing about this kind of project is it's handmade. It doesn't need to be perfect. That's one thing I love about handmade is it doesn't need to be perfect. It's you, it's your creation. So, all right, just gonna kind of fill those up so they're nice and level with the white part. And that's gonna give us a nice, pretty blue outline for the coaster. And I don't know if you can see, but this is with the mica powder, it is still just a little bit translucent, and that's really cool for this winter theme that we're doing here because it kind of gives it that icy feel. So that's kind of fun. All right. Let me just scrape a bit more out and then I think we're good. Okay. Now that we've done that, I'm going to take this clear that I've got left over and I'm just going to add glitter to it. Keep it nice and clear, and we're going to just go over that whole rest of the mold there, cover that up. See, I'll grab this stick, mix that up. This is quite a bit of glitter I've put in here because I want to get a little bit of coverage with the glitter, but not full coverage. So I'm going to go back in with my brush here and just push the white out so it meets the edge of the blue. And I've got a little bit of blue drips on this part, but that's okay. Totally fine. Just want those colors to meet before I pour on the clear.
Allie, I know you're working on the coaster. We have some questions on the cup. How
Yeah.
safe is it for them to use it to drink out of after putting the epoxy on?
It is 100% safe. And you want to look for a resin that is food safe. So that's a good question. But the resin that we're using for this class is definitely food safe. So it's very safe to drink out of. Good question. All right, we're going to pour this on. Cover this last bit here with the glitter. Look how pretty that is. Love this. Resin is really fun. I've only been doing resin crafts for a couple years, but I absolutely love it. It's addicting. It's really fun. You can really make some neat projects that, again, last for quite a long time. So that's kind of fun. I started out in paper crafts, but I'm branching out and it's been really fun. All right, so I'm going to take my heat gun and just kind of push that out to the edges. And also, the benefit of this heat gun, I should have mentioned earlier, is this will take care of your air bubbles. So if you look at it at an angle, you can see the little air bubbles popping as I shoot it with the heat gun. So that's another benefit. So even if you're not swirling your project with the heat gun, definitely give it a shot for just a minute or so to get rid of those bubbles. All right, so again, I can use my brush here if I want to, and just kind of push this out over the blue. But I'm not going to take the time to do that right now because you guys get the idea. I'll just show you the completed coaster. So you get your white snowflake bottom here. You've got your nice blue sparkly edges, and then that back. I did end up adding some snowflakes to the back, so you could do that as well if you want to. But that's the look. And then again, here's the completed tumbler. It's full of water, so I'm not going to be able to turn it all the way, but you can see the idea and see how they're just a little bit different. I've got more snowflakes on this one, obviously, and I think the blue's a little richer on this one, but it's really fun. So again, if you wanted to add the pink, and swirl the pink in there and make 3 different colors, you totally could do that. So it's up to you. I don't know. Oh, we've got a little bit of time. We can ask some more questions, or it's up to you. If you guys have more questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or
So we have a question. If someone wanted to add vinyl, when is the best time to add the vinyl to the cup?
Okay, so that's a good question. Most crafters will add 1 layer of resin and maybe glitter, and you're going to want it to be smooth. So you would want to add any vinyl while it's still smooth. So 1 layer of resin and maybe glitter or color, and then vinyl, and then you'll do a second coat on top of that after it's fully cured to cover the vinyl so that your vinyl is secure, it stays secure. I know one issue people have when adding vinyl to cups is that eventually it starts to peel off, or it can't go through the dishwasher, but this can't either. But if you cover your vinyl with a second coat of sealing epoxy, just clear, that'll keep it really safe. So good question.
They have a question of what's the lifetime of a spin machine?
The spinning machine. So I've had this one for 2 years. It works great still. They came out in 2018. So I mean, that's they're meant to last for several years. So that's a good question. And any issues or questions you have, We Are Memory Keepers is a great. They have a great customer service department, and so any questions or issues you have, we always welcome you to contact our customer service, and they'll do everything they can to help you out. So if you have any questions about your Spin It Tumbler turner or any issues, if there end up being any manufacturer defects, which are really rare, but if there are, we're happy to replace anything for you.
And so they're also asking, if you don't have a heat gun, could you use a blow dryer or a torch, butane torch?
I do know crafters who use a butane torch to get the air bubbles out. That works fine. You just give it a quick shot. You don't do it for very long because heat can affect how it cures. You could use a hairdryer for the swirling. I'm not sure if a hairdryer will get hot enough to pop the bubbles. That's a good question. So that may be something that I need to give a try out and see if it works, but it would work as far as moving your resin around and swirling it. So good question. Any others?
There is another question. Again, how long do you let the coaster and the cup dry?
Okay, so you're gonna want this to spin for 12 hours and then you can turn it off and stop spinning. Leave it on the turner for 24, then you can take it off. The curing depends on how thick your resin is, but it takes anywhere from 24 to 48 hours to fully cure. This you're not gonna wanna touch for at least 24 hours and make sure it's level. One thing I forgot to mention is I often will pick this up gently and just tap it down a few times just to make sure that the resin is nice and level in there. Any other questions?
Yes, they are also asking, as far as putting a picture or flowers, when would be the correct time to put that in?
Okay, so that's going to go on before you add your first layer of resin. So you would paint, you would add any pictures or water slide paper on the cup before you add your first layer of resin. Good question.
And also, would you be able to use like a UV lamp for it to dry?
Good question. So there is a resin that's called UV resin that you can use a UV lamp with, and that will help it to cure faster, but this is not UV resin. So you don't want to use a UV lamp for this kind of resin, but you would for UV resin. Good question. All right, I think that's pretty much it. Don't know if we want to shoot back to the front so I can thank you guys for coming. I sure appreciate you spending your time with me today. Be sure to go in the classroom there. I think there are links to all these products and you can get them from your local Michaels as well. But this is a really fun craft. It's great for gifting. So if you're looking for holiday gifts, give this a try. It's a lot of fun. Thanks so much for joining me and I hope you have a great day. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.